get my 6. It appears as if I have decided to set up and record this video right in the middle of a Nat Hatch. For those of you who don't know what a Nat Hatch is, most of you know what gnats are. Well, a hatch is when any insect, they hatch from their eggs. Like the mother came along and laid 1,000 eggs and they all hatch at once. It's great if you're a fly fisherman and you can hit a hatch along a stream, because the trout will be coming up eating all that stuff and you're going to catch one on every cast. It's not so great when you're setting up your camera in the forest to make a video and you hope to talk for 15 to 20 minutes and you're in the middle of thousands of gnats. So bear with me because I'm not moving, because there's a particular spot here I want you to pay particular attention to. Afraid to breathe through my mouth. Afraid I'm gonna swallow a bunch of gnats. This is by request. We've had a special request. So looking at a comment here the other day, it said, "What a shame. This was becoming a really good Bigfoot Sasquatch channel, but now it's been ruined because he talks about family and life. Unsubscribed." Well, all right. Look, back in January of this year, we made a series of videos in which a couple of those videos we actually captured bipedal, upright walking, big, large somethings up here. So just for you, by request, you've asked for it, you wanted it, it's back. Look for Bigfoot Sasquatch back here through the entirety of the video. Tree knock. During which I will be talking about family and life. Also, many of you requested that I restock our Etsy store shelves with print copies of my latest novel, The Lunatic. They arrived last night, but I didn't get them till today. When I went down to go out for my mountain bike ride, I saw them at the gate, so I got them. I will be listing 20 to 23. I got to hold a couple out. One for my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, of course, who will be home within days now, not weeks, but days. Less than a week. Fingers crossed. And I'm giving one to my niece, who's here actually down at the house with my sister, visiting for a few days, helping me, pass some time in a very enjoyable way before Dearly and Daniel get back. And so keep looking. I'm serious. You watch for him, her, it, or they back here. You never know what you may or may not see. Potentially. Tree knocks. So, Katie asked me what this book's about, and let me point out, she's 18, my niece. This book's rated R. I don't recommend reading it if you're under 18. There's a lot of bad words, a lot of adult situations, adult themes, alternative lifestyles, etc., etc. And it all makes sense. They have to be. To tell the story that is being told, the main underlying rift of this, there's two of them, but it had to be that way, okay? So there's your warning. But it's an excellent story. But she asked me what it was about, and because she said she wants to read it. And I told her it's about a lot of things. And she's like, what? And I explained some, which on here I've explained about how, don't judge others. You might see 5% of somebody's situation. Don't go making up the other 95%. You don't know what that person's really doing. And also, when you hear their backstory, anybody can be viewed through different eyes. So it's it's about not judging. And it's about being who you are and living the life you want to live, the life that's meant for you, despite what people around you might think. If they got a problem with it, as long as you're not hurting anybody, they're the ones with the problem, not you. And I mentioned that to my niece, and I told her, I said, life it's beautiful and it's uncomplicated when you look out there to see the beauty and you make sure just not to complicate things. And she laughed. She thought that was funny. And I looked out the windows. We're having lunch. I looked out the dining room windows to our field. A couple acres big there. We've got our bees, and then we've got the man-made forest, hundreds of trees we planted on the other side. I said, look at that field. Isn't that field beautiful? She's like, well, yeah. And I said, well, I will sit here during the day when I'm not working and I've got nothing going on, and I will just sit here and stare at that beautiful field and just say, isn't that field beautiful? And she's like, yeah, well, what about? And then she throws in some, real world scenarios with dealing with other people and maybe what they might think of me or relationship between us. And I just say, you know what? That's a situation that they've chosen to complicate. That's their complication. I don't allow it to become mine. That has nothing to do with me. I just focus on the beauty of that field. And so from here, the gears kind of shifted, well, in a way, from those two main underlying themes of this story to a third theme that I just thought might be beneficial for an 18-year-old young woman to kind of hear about. And because that's one of the themes of this book too. And I can't tell you specifically and to what degree how, because it'll ruin the ending for you. But I will use the example of the guy in the book, the boat builder, the yacht builder, the guy that builds yachts. I was talking to Katie about a book many of you might have read 20, 25 years ago. It was a book called Who Moved My Cheese? Many of you have read it. I know you've read it. If you've read it, you say, I read it in the comments or whatever. It would have been in the business / self-help type thing. All right. I was a stockbroker years ago, and thought I heard something howl over there. So yeah, I see that. Keep watching and see if it moves. I don't remember seeing it there when I started recording, so keep your eyes on it. When I was a stockbroker, every quarter they'd have these rah-rah group cheerleading sessions. They called them regional meetings or something. You'd all get together for a weekend at some overpriced hotel. Some mutual fund or annuity wholesaler company would pay for it because we gave them so much business. That's where part of your 12B1 fees go in the prospectus, to pay for brokers to have these really nice ritzy weekends at these nice resorts every quarter. Fact check me, brah. It's fact. So, but they'd let the top producers get up and talk about how great they were and why they were so great. And it just had to do with, they were great. That's why. I mean, you can't quantify it. There's no way you could follow any sort of example they might set to be great like them. They were simply great because they were great. And you could go look these guys up today and ask them, and they'll tell you. You don't have to take my word for it. Those who might be a bit critical might have viewed the scene as a show of narcissism. Nah, we'll call it a regional meeting. All right, so anyway, sometimes they'd say, read this book. This is a good book. Well, they kept saying, read this book called Who Moved My Cheese back in the day. I was like, whatever. So I finally read it just so they'd stop asking me if I read it. And it's not a big book. It's like 80 pages, large print. Whoever wrote it was a genius. I'm sure they made a fortune off of it. But it had a good story, and the story is this. I'm going to condense an 85-page book or 125-page book into 90 seconds for you. But for those of you who aren't happy about me talking about life and family, you just make sure you keep looking up here for this potential Bigfoot. That thing moved out even further from the tree. A minute ago, it was leaning up against the tree. And when I started recording, to my knowledge, it was not there. That daggone thing might break into a full-on sprint at some point. And I might have to run really fast to escape capture. So if I just disappear, that might be what happened. Anyway, here's the story. There are two rats in a maze, a controlled situation. They're being studied for science. The scientist, the proctor, puts cheese in this one spot every day, and the two rats, they go and they eat that cheese. Well, they do this for a month or maybe a few months, but the rats know where to go to get their cheese. Well, one day the rats go there and the cheese is gone. So they go without eating that day. The next day they go back, the cheese still isn't there. By the third day, they're hungry and they're starting to get weak and famished. And the one rat says to the other one, I think somebody moved our cheese. I think we need to go through this maze and look for this cheese in other places. And the other rat says, oh, no, this is how it's always worked. It's always been done this way. This is how we're always going to do it. The cheese will just come back. We just need to keep coming back here. So the next day they go back, still no cheese. The other rat's like, I think we need to start looking around for this cheese. And the other rat says, nope, this is a system that works. It's always worked. It's always been done this way. We're always going to do it this way. We just need to keep coming back. The cheese will be here. Well, the next day, the one rat, he didn't go back. He went looking for the cheese elsewhere. The other rat went back day after day. The cheese never came back, and eventually that rat died. He starved. He had no options because he was too unwilling to be flexible and to bend with the changing of the situation. He died. He starved. So the other rat, he eventually found the cheese, and he would go back to where he found the cheese, and the cheese remained there for about a month, but then after that it disappeared again. Well, when it disappeared that next time, it didn't take him as long to say, hey, been here, done that. This was the plan. This is what was working. This was really, I was successful with this strategy of coming to this spot every day to get my cheese. But the situation's changed. If I want to continue to be successful, I need to change with the situation. Started looking for that cheese because somebody moved it and he found it again. That rat lived to be a very old age because that rat knew this might be my plan. This might have worked for the last guy last week, but if situations change today, this isn't going to work for me. I need to be willing to bend before I break. I need to be flexible, and if the environment changes because of the economy, because of political situations, because of worldwide pandemics, things we can't foresee coming down the pike, I need to be willing to be flexible and change so I don't starve like the rat who was not willing to change. And there is very much a point to that, to this book. Let's take, for instance, our yacht builder. Many of you have read this book, so you'll know what I'm talking about. And I'm going to try to tell this without giving it away. But real life situation, you have a guy, the main character, for instance here, who decides, I'm going to build yachts, going to build them out of wood, predominantly old-fashioned style. I'm going to really undercut the commercial builders because I'm just a little guy. I'm going to pay more for my products and stuff, but I'm not going to have the overhead they have. I'm not going to have the insurances that they have to worry about because they have hundreds or thousands of employees. I might hire people part-time from time to time to subcontract out some of the work that's somewhat menial, that doesn't require my engineering skills, but I'm going to build yachts because I like boating, I like aquatics, I like all things, on the water. It's what I'm passionate about, and this is what I want to do. So you set out, you start doing it, you get, really into one, but the environment changes. The situation changes. The bottom falls out of the economy. The government made some moves that weren't so great. Now we're going through about a 20-year recession. This is an example. The environment, people just aren't buying yachts anymore. What do I do? Not just because I have all these parts and I have, this product I've been building, not just because this is what I know, this is my passion, but wow, what do you got to sit there and ask that question. Well, you can be like the first rat and say, doesn't matter that the environment's changed. This is my thing. This is what I do. This is what I know. I'm going to continue to build these yachts. But the environment's changed as such to where the people that buy those things they're kind of being kind of close with their money because we don't know how long we're going to, it doesn't matter. I don't care if things have changed. This is what, you're going to starve. Okay? But in that environment, let's say, for instance, and we got on this because I'm talking to Katie about social media, about YouTube, because she has a gold mine of an opportunity in front of her. I'm just going to be honest with you about it. Her and her mother and one of her aunts breed exotic cats that sell for like upwards of $2,000 each, and they're successful with it. I mean, they're doing a phenomenal job with this business. And I thought, wow, you're in a position, Katie, to just make a channel about like these exotic cats. Who would not just eat that up? How could that not go viral? How could you not ever have to never worry about a real job ever again if you had an opportunity like that fall right in your lap? And it helps when your uncle's got, as of this recording, 252,000 subscribers, that he can say, hey, go check out my cute little niece Katie and her little cats. Boom, it's like instant McDonald's franchise, right? But she's like, doesn't really get it so much. And I don't say that disrespectfully or insulting towards her. And me and her mom were talking. I think a lot of times young people might not recognize good opportunities when they're presented because they haven't had enough experience with bad opportunities. They haven't had those 5 or 6 suck jobs where they liked the job, couldn't stand their coworkers, or they loved their coworkers but hated the job. or liked their coworkers and the job, but their manager was a bad word. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You guys watching this, most of you are older than me, are like, yeah, you have 5 or 6 of those jobs, and then you figure out a way you can make your money just talking about your cats on social media. You're crazy. Well, but if you've never had those bad experiences, you know. So anyway, here's my point. Let's say we're the yacht builder again, and someone with knowledge of social media and stuff comes up to that person and says, all right, here's the deal. Situations change, the environments change. You know, the rich are always going to be rich and the poor are always going to be poor. You know who gets affected when the economy changes? The middle class. And this is no secret. This is no conspiracy. We know this, right? So that's why companies such as Dollar General, I'll tell you, when I was a stockbroker, I used to sell a lot of Dollar General stock. Genius mindset. They intentionally target market shoppers who make less than $25,000 a year. You're like, why would they do that? Those people don't have much money. Here's why. Because those people are economic downturn resistant. They're poor when the economy's good, and they're poor when the economy's bad. And I mean no disrespect by saying they're poor. I should say they're lower income. Okay, they're not poor people. They're not people who are poor. They are human beings whose income is just low. It's on the lower end of the spectrum, okay? That's whether the economy, hey, in the 90s, when everybody was making money off the dot-com craze, you could throw a dart at a balloon board, and whatever, when the balloon popped, if it said Cisco, or if it said Microsoft, or if it said Google, you know, if you bought that stock, you'd be rich now, right? Or you could have made money off of it back then. It's funny, by the way, Google, who owns YouTube, the parent company of the platform you're watching right now, world's second biggest company next to Amazon, but sometimes they go up and they're number one. Yahoo could have purchased Google in the year 2000 for $1 million. And the executives at Yahoo said, who would pay $1 million for a search engine? Just a standalone search engine? You know, you go to Yahoo, you look stuff up, or AOL, who's no longer there, America Online, you look stuff up. Well, you could also read news. You could say, well, guess what? Sometimes people just want to look stuff up and they don't want all that sidebar crap. When we all know where Google is now. Yahoo could have bought Google for $1 million, and they said no. They didn't just see the opportunity that it was. So anyway, we go back to our boat builder. Somebody with knowledge comes up and says, look, things have changed. Here's what you can do. You are very knowledgeable about boats, about sailing, about water currents, wind currents, how it affects sail, drag, and all this stuff. You could make model boats, and here's, say, a pond, or go to a lake, go somewhere, anywhere. You could test drive these boats. You could explain, you know, for instance, this is a model of a yacht from 1843, got it at Walmart, cost $29.99. Took me 30 minutes to put together, and then you have these condensed video versions of you actually putting together, but only take up 2 or 3 minutes. Don't make them these long-winded, boring videos like I make. Did you hear that? You still watching back here, Bigfoot Sasquatch, brah? All right, so anyway, and say then you just kind of like showcase this on social media. You make videos like this. And eventually, at some point, because of your knowledge, because of your understanding of the subject matter, because of your passion toward the subject matter, which is a big component in my mind, passion will make up for, I don't know so much about knowledge, but I'll tell you, if you're passionate and you're willing to work, nothing can stop you. You will knock down walls to be successful, and it doesn't matter what it's in. All right, so you have all this stuff, you mix it together, and you may never make your $250,000 selling one of those hand-built yachts again. The environment might have changed to the degree to where that just doesn't happen, or if it does, it might be 20 years before you do. But in the meantime, if you do this, and you can do it for a lot less money and a lot less time, you're probably in time if you're truly passionate about this subject matter, because people can see that. And it's addictive. They will flock to you. If you love what you do, people will run to watch you do it because your passion is contagious. That's a fact. Okay? So you do this, you and time would make more money from social media with your little remote control boats than you'd ever make selling the big real ones anyway. So what's your decision? What's your choice? Do you be like the rat that lived and go after it and say, you know, conditions have changed, so I'm still kind of sort of really working with what I'm passionate about, boats and sailing and all this? Or do I be like that first rat and say, nope, this is what I know, this is how I do it, everybody else has the problem, it's not working out now, and that's because he's stupid and the president sucks, and I don't like this party that controls the house, and these tariffs are stupid, and when they're gone up, you're dead. You're not going to be around anymore when those tariffs are gone. Your cheese was moved. You didn't go looking for it, so you starved. Even him, her, it, or they are in agreement. You better act quick, because I'm going to tell you, the first 23 people that buy an autographed print copy of The Lunatic from our store at Etsy will receive an autographed print copy of The Lunatic from our store at Etsy. They sell out again. You snooze, you lose. See you for more next time.